Good day, students. Let's talk about the task that you have to do this week, which is on sorting the objects in an array. Task 1 is on the student task that you did before. You're only going to add code to sort data in this task. Task 2 for this week is on trucks for hire. Again, the project is provided. You are only going to add the sort code to sort the data. So for task 1, in both tasks actually, you are going to apply two techniques for sorting. The first technique is where you write your own code, your own method to do the sorting. And the second technique is where you make use of a pre-written method called sort. It sits in the arrays class, and you're just going to call that method to sort the elements of the array. So the first way is to write your own code. In videos 1, 2, and 3 on sorting, the selection sort method is discussed extensively. In videos 1 and 2, the sorting of integers, an array filled with integer values, are discussed, how to sort those arrays using the selection sort method. In video 3, the same sorting method is discussed, the selection sort method, but in that video, a similar setup as this task 1 is discussed, where you have to sort objects that are sorted that are saved in an array. So it will be useful if you watch all 3 videos, but specifically watch video 3 to understand how names in an array are sorted, specifically if it's part of an object. So in task 1, the array students is filled with studentable objects, as you can see in the code on the screen. The selection sort method consists of 2 for loops, an outer loop and an inner loop. I'm not going to discuss this again because it's been discussed in the previous videos already. The only thing that I just want to remind you of is the field or the instance field that you need to use for sorting. In this example, you need to sort the list according to the names of the students. Therefore, you will use the getName method. You will use the compare to method to compare the two names. And there's a greater than 0 because the ASCII values of the names will be used for the sorting. This is explained in video 3. So the statement itself, this if statement, is standard. It has to look exactly like this. You have to be very accurate in your coding here. Don't swap things around and code it any way that you think is correct, because it probably will not be correct. It must be the same as this statement. Please note the compare to has a capital letter T. It's a method that you are using, that's part of Java. So it has to be spelled in this way, no other way. Then also, the array that you use in this method depends on your scenario. In this scenario, you are using the students array, which contains studentable objects. So in the trucks for hire setup or scenario, you will use contractable objects, and the name of the array, I think if I remember correctly, is array contracts. So only the names of the arrays that you use, or the array that you use in this method, will change. Also, the field that you need to sort will change according to the scenario. The rest of this code must be like this. Do not swap or change anything. It's a standard piece of code that you have to use in this very same way. The order of the statements as well. Please note, it must be in this order. When you swap the second if statement here, please remember that the type of a variable that you declare is the same as the type of the array, studentable, or in the second task, it will be contractable. So that's the one approach. So you'll have this method in the test class. If I can just show you the method here, that's where you code it in your test class as a static method. The exact same code, you type it out there, and then in your test class, in your main method here, in the test class, you will just do the 3 call statements. Actually, this display, the first one is already provided. You just need to add the call for the sort method and then call display again to see the sorted list on the screen. That's the one approach. Also remember to add the getName method to the interface class, studentable. In your second task, you will add whatever field, the getter of whatever field you need to use to sort to the interface class. I think if I remember correctly, it's either the registration number or the dates. So it will be either be get date that you need to add to the contractable class, or it will be get registration number, one of the two. You'll have to add it there. So then you're done with your first approach, writing your own method to sort. On the second approach, I just want to close this here. On the second approach, you have to make use of a pre-written method. The name of the method is sort, and it sits in the arrays class. So in your test class, you will go and import the java.util.arrays class. Please don't, if you submit this for your task 2, I don't want to see java.utils.star. You will be penalized if you do that. I want to see whether you know which class to import for sorting. And therefore, you must mention the name of the class that you import. It's the arrays class. Then the first statement that you do for this approach, for the second approach of sorting, is you have to trim the array. If you declare your array, you usually make space for a certain number of elements, but normally all of these elements are not used. All these spaces are not used. Normally there are spaces left in the text file that you use to populate the array. Maybe there's only 6 or 7 student objects there. So 3 or 4 spaces will be left blank. This cannot be, there can be no blank spaces if you make use of the arrays.sort method. So before you call the arrays.sort method, you have to trim the array. You trim the array by saying array students equals arrays.copy of. Please note the capital letters there. Copy of. Then in brackets, the name of the array, comma, and the number of elements, actual elements in the array, count. This is to trim the array, make sure there's no blank spaces. Then after you've done that, you can call arrays.sort and you mention the specific array that you want to sort. Then you call the display method again to see the sorted list. So that's the first thing that you do. Then the next thing that you do is in your superclass. In the superclass, you have to do a few things here. At the top, you have to import the serializable class. java.io.serializable, not .star. I want to see that you know that you need to import this class. Then you also have to implement the serializable interface and also the comparable interface. And with comparable, you have to mention the name of this superclass. You have to put tags there, 2 tags, and then student. In the task 2, it will be contract. because the name of the superclass in task 2 is contract. So you will have comparable contract in tags for task 2. So that's the first thing that you need to do. Remember, in Java, you can implement more than one interface class. You cannot inherit from more than one class. That's the Java rules. Then in this instance, you have to sort according to student number. So in this class, at the bottom normally, you have to override the compare to method. Remember, in the first approach, we used the compare to method. That's part of Java. Now we want to override the compare to method, indicating the specific field that we want to use for sorting in this particular approach. So the code is standard. The only thing that you change is the name of the superclass, student, in this case, contract in task 2, and then give it a name, the variable. I've just called it student. The name is your own choice, the name of the variable. The type of the variable must be the name of this superclass. Then return this dot and then the field that you'll use for sorting. In this case, it's student number. Dot compare to, and then the variable name student, dot, and then again the field that you're going to use for sorting. So you need, and then please indicate that you are going to override the compare to method with this code of your own. So that's two things that you must do in your superclass. Then you can just compile and you can run, and then you will see the sorted list. So those two approaches, please do these two sorting techniques in the student class first, just to see how it works. And then you apply the very same techniques. Everything is explained here in the document. Then for task 2, apply everything again to the trucks for hire task that's supplied in week 11 in Onifundi. In the week 11 folder, you have this task. You now have to add the sort method, your own sort method that you have to write. This sorting method must be done according to dates, the date field. So you have get date in the interface class. Then the second technique, you have to sort the array according to registration numbers. So you do all the code as we've explained just now on the student class, just on the student project. You will just apply it now on the trucks for hire project. I hope this helps a little bit, the discussion on the tasks that you have to do. The bottom line is just do the student task according to the instructions in this document, sort out the problems, then do the very same tasks again in the truck for hire scenario. In the assignment, it stated clearly that you do not submit all the code. You only submit your test class code for trucks for hire, and then below that you copy and paste the test class, and then below that you copy and paste your superclass, because the code that you need to add to this project is only part of the test class and part of the superclass. The other classes, it's all provided code. So only those two classes must be submitted. Just read the instructions on the assignment and do exactly as stated there. Good luck and enjoy.